Good morning, everybody. We are live. It is Sunday, the 24th of April, 2022. Today, we're going to look at a couple things. We're going to do an update on the Rolling Rhino remix. And then we're going to launch into talking about FOG, and we will go through an installation of that, the basic installation on that, on a virtual machine with Ubuntu 22.04. And then we'll see what time is left after that and have plenty of time for questions and other things. So, good morning, everybody out there. All right. Well, let's jump over to our. Let's do that. Okay, so this is Rolling Rhino Remix. So this is basically a derivative of Ubuntu that turns it into more of a rolling release like Arch. So, just a little bit bigger. Good morning, David. Welcome. With this, let me get back to my notes. So the first thing I wanted to bring up before we launch into working with this is that there is an updated ISO image available that is dated 4/19/22. You don't no longer have to do the workaround that I had previously shown after the initial install. So I have done I've done Rhino update on this, so I'm at the latest version level there with updates. But what I do want to look at today is Rhino config, which is another utility. Wow. So apparently I made an issue when I tried to run this morning. So I'm going to reboot and we will attempt this again. So what Rhino config is going to allow you to do, among other things, is it's going to let you install the latest Linux kernel. It will also let you purge the snap daemon, and you can replace that with Flatpaks, which a lot of people tend to like better. It's kind of a personal thing, I guess, that you have to make the decision on your own on that one. My feeling, and I've said this before, I like the idea of snaps more for IoT devices and servers, whereas Flatpaks I think are more well geared for desktop. So we will log back into this and see if we can get Rhino config to run for us. So the other utility that they've added, and you have to use Rhino config to enable this, is Packstall, which is adding a resource similar to the Arch AUR to Ubuntu. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so we'll force it like this. All right. Usually you would just enter rhino-config, but since I had tried to run it earlier, it's all right. So, do you want to install the latest mainline kernel? Yes, let's do that. Do you wish to remove Snapcraft and replace it with Flatpaks? Sure. And so hopefully that will kill the Firefox that's installed with a snap and install Firefox with Flatpak. While that's doing its thing, good morning, Tony. Welcome. So, this is purely an experiment. I am not entirely sure how this will all go, but we are going to find out together and go from there. Worst case scenario, I end up with a borked VM. But that's the joy of installing things in VMs. Okay, configuration updated. Snapd has been removed from the system. Do you wish to install Pakstall, an additional AUR-like package manager for Ubuntu on the system? Yes, let's go ahead and do that. Pakstall has been enabled on your system. Please check the Pakstall documentation on our website for information on how to use the utility. Alright, so what I'm interested in here is what did they do with... It's interesting that they've got different volumes on our dock on the side here that were not there before. I think I'm going to reboot this one more time and see where we end up. So, has anybody been working on any interesting projects the last week or two? I know we didn't do a live stream last week Sunday, but I have added the Thursday nights that seem to be doing all right for people showing up. So... all right. We are once again into our Rolling Rhino Remix VM. And let's get our terminal up. Okay. So, at this point, we need to take a look at documentation from the Rolling Rhino people. We can look at Pakstall documentation. Hackstall dash cap H. So let's jump back over here. Okay, so something's still not right. So apparently that did not install it properly. We're still on a 5.15 kernel. So let's see if we run Rhino. Rhino config. And again, since it's already there, it seems like an odd choice. Okay, Rhino config is the command line utility allows you to configure Rhino, our utility tool that allows you to upgrade the distribution. Okay, so this may not be quite where they wanted it to be yet. Okay, Rhino config is completed. Please run Rhino update on your system. There we go. So we're getting the Linux headers and modules. And we can push that forward. Good morning, Hugo. Welcome. So we'll see how this goes. I do have another VM over here that we will be connecting to shortly. Where did that go? Okay, we'll be connected to shortly, and we will run through an install of FOG. We are going to use the development edition, which has the latest updates. So the reason I'm doing this is really twofold, and that is because they haven't put out an official mainstream update since 2020. But they have continued development on FOG as a project. So to get the best compatibility with the new versions of Ubuntu and Debian and other distributions, I am cautiously recommending the development edition because it does pull in some of the latest changes. I'm hoping that they will update from 1.5.9 to 1.6 this year at some point. But the developers have been pretty forthcoming with time constraint issues that they have encountered, and as much as I love FOG, I do not have the time nor the development prowess to take over a project as big as this. So I had contemplated at one point taking their installer and doing a doing a cleanup on that with the idea of eventually converting it into an Ansible script to handle the install. But I have not been able to do that up to this point. Okay, so we are back in to our Rolling Rhino. And so we did go from the 5.15 kernel to the 5.17.3 kernel. So we are pretty close to the cutting edge on that. Now I want to see. Packstall is still not found. Okay, lowercase Packstall, even though their documentation shows uppercase. Okay, so we're going to try Packstall install Firefox. See if it doesn't find anything. No package name Firefox. So, okay. What if we look for Chromium? No. Okay. Well, anyways, I'm sure this is going to warrant a whole separate video. And just to get people introduced to this as far as a tool on Ubuntu. So we have nothing installed through Packstall. So let's head over to their documentation one more time. I believe this is where we've got Packstall. Okay. You're able to browse the Packstall package list. So we have Firefox is not listed. Chrome does not turn up. Chrome. Let's see. Well, what else do we have on here? Ardour, Atom Editor, Balena Etcher, Bash Top. So we do have a number of things on here. Brave, Browser, Beta, Deb, separated by hyphens. Okay. Brave, Browser, Beta, Deb. since we lost our Firefox when we disabled snaps, we need to have a web browser on here, so this will get us back in business. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay. Setting up Brave Browser. Okay. Well, let's see if we do in fact have Brave Browser Beta. Sure, set it as default. Definitely opens faster than Firefox as a snap. So, I guess I'll live on the edge a little bit in this virtual machine and run the beta version of Brave. I tend to be pretty happy with this browser overall. Might as well do a little beta testing. But yeah, so that's, I guess, some basics on this Rhino config and pack stall, and hopefully people will find that somewhat useful if they decide to experiment with the rolling Rhino remix. So again, I want to make sure everybody understands they have released an update. So the last time I showed it, there was a workaround for an issue. This is the 4.19.22 version with a 3.4 gig ISO. And yeah, I'm not sure I'm necessarily ready to run this on hardware directly, but I'm definitely going to keep this virtual machine around and do my weekly updates and just see what the track record is with it after a few months, and then I may consider putting it on actual hardware. So I guess that gets us through that part. So any questions before we move on and talk about FOG? I know that was kind of the big thing I wanted to do today, is go through the install of that. And since it's been a while since I've done that, but we can let's see. This is the GitHub project for FOG. I'll take myself off screen for the moment. So they have instructions for installing the stable version, which is what I've traditionally done on the channel. But we are going to run the beta version, or the development version, because this is all pretty stable, but I want to have the latest releases available. So I'm going to SSH in to the system so that things are a little bit larger for people to see. Okay. And so we are going to go ahead, clear the screen, and we'll paste in the git command. So we're doing a git clone on the FOG project git file. FOG project dev branch is what we're checking out. And then once we have it downloaded, we are going to change directories into that dev branch directory that it will create. So this should go fairly quick. And hi, Chris. Yep, we're doing an install of the FOG development version on Ubuntu 22.04 server. And I did a test install a couple nights ago, and this does in fact install properly. But I built this VM this morning with a little bit more storage capabilities and a couple more processor cores. So I'm one of the things I'm wanting to do with this is to use the Pixie Boot functionality that's built into it and make some modifications to that as we go forward, allowing me to network boot my Clonezilla or Rescuezilla or Redo Rescue as an alternative to using the facilities built into FOG. Not knowing how long FOG is going to receive continued development, I feel like this is bridging the gap a little bit, shall we say. So we're going to change into the bin directory, and we're going to run the install FOG shell script. And this is going to continue just like it always has. It's a Debian-based distribution. We're doing a normal install. We do not want to change the default network interface. Yes, we'll set up address for the DHCP server, which is going to be my main router on the network. Do you want DHCP to handle DNS? Yes. And that's fine. Would you like to use the FOG server for DHCP service? No. Because you only want one DHCP server on your network. We don't need international packages. We're going to skip HTTPS since it's local network only. And we're going to leave the host name alone. And then this is sending information back to FOG development about the type of OS you're using. That's fine. All right, and again, the key pieces here is this section. We'll take a screenshot of it. And you need to set options 66 and 67 with the information that they give you here. And that is something you typically do in your router if, this is important, if you are not having FOG act as your DHCP server. There is a different way to go about installing this where you're basically going to have two network cards, and one of them is to connect to your main network so that you can continue to update your server, and the other is where all the imaging would happen. we are doing a one network card setup. So we'll go ahead and continue with this. And this part takes a while because it's got a bunch of packages to install. And it will show you all the packages it's going to install here. And if you wanted to speed this up a bit before you install FOG, you could install a chunk of these packages just straight from apt, and then it will speed up the actual FOG install. So we will let those we will let this run and see where we get from here. Last time I had FOG powered up, had trouble using the mounted share for images. Interesting. I've not run into that behavior. Do you know, Chris, which version of FOG you were using? Were you using the development version, or were you using the latest 159 release version? Because that may have had something to do with it. Again, I make no claims to be a developer, so I can theorize on some of this stuff. I can investigate some of this stuff if I can reproduce an issue, but since I'm not a developer, I tend not to claim to be able to do much beyond that. Sometimes I surprise myself and come up with some things, but I am not a developer by trade. I dabble with a little bit of Bash and Python programming, but that's about as far as I go. So I am in some ways a little bit curious what would happen if I chose to install FOG on Rolling Rhino Remix. I have a suspicion that it may break things sporadically, but that tends to be the nature of a rolling release, and so with the development of FOG being so much slower than what a rolling release is going to be, I would suspect there would be some issues. Let's see. Not sure the version. Only using an attached drive seems to work for me. Need to try it. Try again to map to storage array instead of VM drives. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have a storage array available to me, so I'm not going to be a lot of help reproducing that. I can show. So what I have set up for this particular VM is I've got a 32 gig drive set up for the OS install, and then I've got this 80 gig virtual drive mounted as /images, and that's just, it's a convention that I've started using on these installs lately. Partially for some experimentation, partially to allow me to be able to resize things if necessary a little easier. So that's kind of where I've gone with this. I am not using this for any large scale imaging projects. At this point, I am more just trying to keep a current version of FOG installed so that I can do demos and things, because one of the top searched terms on my channel is about FOG. So until I come up with some other topic that blows it out of the water, I feel like it's almost necessary for me to keep this going. And I've had a rush of people lately that have been commenting on old FOG videos, like the 1.5.7 version of FOG, and saying how it doesn't work with Debian 11, which was not available. It had not been released when that video came out. So since Ubuntu 22.04 is going to be more closely related to Debian 11, I thought I'd do this today, and it really should work basically the same on Debian 11. And, you know, I'm not sure where their issue was. They, after I requested additional information, I never heard back from these individuals. So, I try to help people where I can, but if all I'm told is that something doesn't work, I'm sorry, but that's not enough information to start troubleshooting from. And if people don't answer questions that I send back to them, then it's one of those situations where I can't do anything to help them. And hopefully they will find the FOG forums and other places online, such as Spiceworks and Reddit and others, that may have people that use FOG still on a more regular basis than I am currently. But yeah. I have it same way as you show, but if I could use a mounted SIF share, would be my preference. I've not experimented with that, but that's an interesting idea. I know hardcore Linux heads would also suggest using NFS instead of SIFs, but I'm not opposed to doing some experimentation with SIFs and maybe pushing the storage of the VMs over to a NAS drive. So I will. I guess I don't have a pen handy, but I will make a note of that and see where I can go with that. Let's see. As I believe I mentioned, my organization is rolling out FOG servers built into laptop recharging stations on wheels. It works, but I wonder what the long-term direction would be. Yep. I'm questioning their long-term direction as well. I think for a number of years it's been a great project, but the red flag for me was after that 2020 release, they just kind of dropped off the map. So officially their last release was 159 from September 13th, 2020. And the the development release is getting updates, albeit likely small updates, as recently as 6 days ago. And that was, again, minor changes for Elma and Rocky Linux support, which are CentOS derivatives, or more accurately, they're now more related to Red Hat Enterprise Linux recompiled. But so yeah, things like they're in the install FOG, they added for they added for Elma and Rocky Linux. I'm sure this is going to be kind of a theme throughout this. Basically, RPM based distributions and the way it checks. But yeah, defining the FOG version 159144, so versus just 159 as the official release is. So again, I'm not a developer, but I have looked at enough code over the years that I can pick things out. So again, in the install FOG sh file is what's really been updated. I wonder how much really changed. Under Common and under Red Hat. And make FOG install on Ubuntu 22.04, which when they last updated it was still in pre-release. Apparently it doesn't need further adjustment because I have installed it twice and it works fine so far. Again, they're just changing the development version number, incrementing it here, and doing something with the PHP version for 8.1. Beyond that, again, my standard disclaimer applies. I'm not a developer. So, okay. So we can copy our URL and paste that in. Install, update now. And that should take just a moment or two. So we can come back here and it will finish the install. We can restart the server and everything should be peachy. Alright, so what else do we have in chat here? Would allow the VM to stay small and offset changes, offset the images to a larger space. Yes. Been tossing around the idea of creating a Pixie boot of parted magic to use as an alternative to FOG. Yeah, that's another option that I was looking at adding to the boot menu for the Pixie boot menu there. So, all right, click here to log in. So we have indeed succeeded at getting this up and running. Now, you're going to have to look at my ugly mug for a minute because I will open up my router and make the necessary changes to get this actually hooked up where we can capture an image. Excuse me. So this will take me just a moment. I don't really want to show my router information. On the stream. Looks like I need to do an update, but that's all right. Just need to figure out where they've hidden the option I want, because of course they've been changing around the interface again and changed things a little bit on me from when I last went through this. Okay. Well, (7023). All right, where did they stick my DHCP options? Advanced features. Which is not an option currently. All right, so thank you, Unify, for continuing to move stuff around on me. Okay, advanced configuration, manual, DHCP mode, Oh, here we go. Show options. Well, TCP TFTP server. Oh, that's not where I want it to go. This is going to be 253. And that's fine. Apply changes. Okay, now I can bring my screen back up. All right, so if that all worked, let's take a look at this. This is a 30. And oh, that's not what I wanted. Let's do this. Let's actually do a restart. It should be escape for boot menu and do that. Number 3 for Pixie boot. And we'll cross our fingers that this worked correctly. And it did. Okay, so we're going to perform full host registration inventory. Because why not? Okay. Rolling Rhino. Enter the image ID. We don't have anything available. No, we're not going to associate with groups. No snap-ins or product key. No to joining for domain. We're going to skip all of this. Would you like to deploy an image now? No. And once this gets to the end, we're going to stop it. Okay, so if we jump back over here to FOG, we should see a little bump in our bandwidth activity. If we come over here to hosts, list all, we'll see Rolling Rhino. We can come to images. I'm going to create a new Rolling Rhino. This is going to be default storage group. It's going to be Linux. As you can see, the image path is images/Rolling Rhino. It's a single disk. Resizable, that's fine. Partition everything. Image enabled. Create image, we'll say add. Image added. Okay. So now we can come over here to tasks. And active tasks will be nothing. So we want to come back to our hosts, list all, and we've got options under task for deploy or capture. We're going to do a capture. Has the MAC address. Host image is going to be Rolling Rhino. And leave those as is. Update. We come back to tasks and active. That's interesting that it didn't capture task successfully. So active tasks. All right. So got task is queued. It's a capture task. So if we jump back to our Rolling Rhino, start now, and number 3, so as I mentioned before in other videos, it is just as simple. The part that trips people up the most is the configuration on their actual router. But if you capture a screenshot or otherwise have the documentation available, it tells you exactly in the installer what information you need to supply. So option 66 is next server, and it gives you the IP address. Option 67 is the file name. Again, it gives you the file name. And if you put it in exactly as it appears in the installer information, it should all work. Now, the caveat being, I suppose, that there are people that are running consumer level routers that, if they are using the default firmware, they may not have these options available, at least not through the web interface. They may or may not be available if you SSH into the router. I am using Unify. Unify has been great about having these available. pfSense has it available. I believe the Tomato firmware and DDWRT and OpenWRT also have this available. So, you know, it's one of those things that experience will teach you a lot. Reading about how networking works and how different components of Pixie Boot work will teach you a lot. And then it's a matter of applying what you have read and learned about and being able to troubleshoot in the proper place. So not every problem that might be encountered is a problem with the FOG server itself. It could be a problem with the configuration of the router for those DHCP options. Since there are so many different routers and different firmwares and, you know, just such a wealth of equipment out there, I can't tell you what the configuration is going to be for every combination of pieces of equipment. So, you know, I always hope that these videos are helpful demonstrating this stuff, but I've had situations where people have tried to describe a scenario, but there are important details that have been left out, so I could never fully duplicate the issue they're having. So, um, let's see. Hello, Catherine. Welcome. 2204 is now working on your AMD system. That is great news. Um, okay, we've got a question. AMD 64 will work on Intel i3. Yes, it will. Intel licensed some instruction sets or something from AMD. And so all 64-bit x86 processors, whether they're from Intel or from AMD, are labeled AMD 64. So, yeah. AMD kind of leapfrogged Intel for a minute there, where Intel was still focusing on Itanium for their 64-bit push, and AMD's extensions were building on the x86 instruction set, and it ended up that they gained enough popularity that Intel adopted them. So yes, when you see something in the Linux world labeled AMD 64, it means 64-bit. It will work on Intel or AMD. Hopefully that explanation makes sense. Yes, I'm very happy to hear that you've had some success with 2204 now. So, all right. So we've got this VM imaging, an image being captured. If we jump back to FOG, it gives us a status bar here on the task screen. And if we come over to the main dashboard, it has changed the imaging over the last 30 days to 1, which is currently happening. And it's also got the capture happening under bandwidth. So it is being captured to an old server, which explains the bandwidth being so low. But sometimes you just have to work with what you've got. All right. Let's see. So that's that. While we're waiting for this to complete, I guess we could run htop over here, and you can see what is going on with the different processor cores and what's being what's happening there. But yeah, basically this, once it starts running, you just kind of let it run and go from there. We are 82% through this. I guess I can make that a little bit larger. Make it a little easier to see in the video for those of you watching. 86% done. Once that gets past 95%, then I will jump back to the tab with the VM, the rolling Rhino VM, and we will wait for this to come back up. So there's 94%, 95. And of course, part clone is here, part of the FOG suite of utilities. And so this is hitting 100%, and it should kick off a restart here pretty quick. And that should be that. Task complete, and it should reboot as normal. All right, we've got 8 people watching currently. While that reboots, we can jump over here to FOG. We can see that the bandwidth has dropped right off. We can see where the transfer happened and what's going on currently. And our VM is coming back up just like before. All right, we're up to 9. So, welcome to any new viewers that are just joining us. We have been looking at FOG, doing install. So don't think I'll do the install of NxFilter in this live stream, but excuse me, I did want to talk about that for just a moment, since that is one of the videos that I look back on that I think is due for an update. So I will be doing a video on that, installing it on 22.04 server, and I will then configure a VM, very likely this VM, the Rolling Rhino VM, to have DNS go through NxFilter before going out to the internet, and thereby being able to filter unwanted categories of websites and other things. NxFilter would be an alternative to things like Custodio, other parental filtering software But I first encountered NxFilter, I don't know, about 6 years ago now. Um, I had a class I was teaching, and we actually got invited to do some work for a nonprofit, which actually had NxFilter installed for their computer lab. This nonprofit is now defunct. And so, yeah, basically you can have some control over different categories of things. It does use an agent on Windows and Mac OS. I believe that's optional. But there's also options for doing NX Relay and having it apply to the whole network. So it's a pretty extensive piece of software that is available now. They have a couple of different lists of the servers to block, and you can buy a license for their different tiers of lists. 50 users is the lowest level, but you could buy it for, 3 years at a time for $190, and this gets you updates on their list as it changes. But for home use, 50 users is going to be more than you'll likely ever use. $70 is not an awful price. And you can do what you need to there. Now they've also got the cloud list, which is $150 a year. And I'm sure there is a spot that tells you the difference between the two lists. But I've not looked at that lately. So, anyways, NxFilter will be a video coming up, and hopefully that will help some people out there, because my previous NxFilter video was from 2 years ago, and using version 18.04.4 of Ubuntu. So it's probably time to give that an update. I never did update it for 20.04, but the procedure really hasn't changed that much. But people seem to have a hard time with the dates on videos and not paying attention to them. So I'm going to try to update that in such a fashion that it will be useful to people here in 2022. All right. So, Okay, so just for everybody's reference, if you're not keeping track of the chat, I normally ask David about a live stream, and he's already said that there's not one happening tonight on his channel. So my next live stream is going to be this coming Thursday. Well, let's do that. There we go. So Thursday the 28th, I will have another live stream. 8:30 p.m. on Thursdays is the time I've been going with. You know, as we go forward, I may play with that time, that start time a little bit. I may either try starting it at 8 o'clock or try starting it at 9 o'clock, shifting half an hour one way or the other, just to see if that change would bring more or fewer people in to the live stream. So I'm hoping to get the plan for that in place this afternoon and get the information up on my channel, so people can set a reminder and be notified, hopefully be notified that that live stream is happening and when it starts, so people can join. So yeah, I think I covered everything that I wanted to today. So we've looked at the Rolling Rhino remix and done some updates on that and played around with their pack stall utility and Rhino config. And we've also done a complete FOG install and, oops, I didn't want to show that necessarily. We've done a complete FOG install and captured an image. So if we jump to images here, list all images, you'll see that this image is captured at 11.57 gigabytes. And it's using Z standard compression. And of course you can play with your compression rates. And, you know, tune that to what is best for your particular environment. So yeah, that's about all I had for today. Are there any questions out there? Are there any topics that people would like to see? And I guess this is about the time that I should do a shameless plug and ask that if anybody has not yet liked the video, if they would do so. It does help a little bit with the YouTube algorithm and getting my content in front of more people. You know, I know that content like FOG is rather niche as far as YouTube content is concerned, but the numbers I've seen that have come to my channel because of the FOG videos is pretty significant for my channel. So until the project is declared officially dead, I will continue to do updates and continue to advise cautious optimism when selecting FOG for use in an organization of any sort. And with that recommendation, I would say you should also be trying out tools such as Clonezilla, Rescuezilla, Redo Rescue, amongst others, to make sure that, if you get to a point that FOG is no longer updated, then you have a plan B and can as seamlessly as possible switch over to using that secondary software. So, yeah, I guess that's the best advice I can give based on my experience using FOG and what's been happening since September of 2020, with the developers having less time to put effort into the project. So, all right. So, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Let me jump. There we go. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and hopefully, this was useful or entertaining in some way. And yeah, I look forward to continuing to cover Rolling Rhino Remix, and covering FOG to some extent, and hopefully keep people moving forward on different projects that I cover on the channel. So, um, on that note, we got one more comment. Going to try to get a squid server set up this week. Very nice. Um, very nice. I haven't I haven't set up a dedicated squid server before, so I'll be interested to hear how that goes. All right. I think on that note, if there are no other comments, I'll give maybe another 30 seconds or so for people to give another comment, and then I am going to go ahead and close this out. I've got a couple of laptops I need to work on this afternoon for a client, and hopefully get some additional work done on my project to start my inventory of my apartment and start packing some things up, because I believe I'm going to end up having to move here in the next 6 months or so. So we will see how that all turns out. I've been spending, well, let's see, Friday and yesterday I spent a lot of time shredding old documents and things that I don't need anymore and don't want to haul to the next place. So I think I've got 4 going on 5 trash bags full of shredded paper to go to the recycling center, and I'll be able to dump that off and then reuse the trash bags to put more shredded paper in. So, um, so Catherine, actually, I'm going in a little bit different direction. I am going to do an inventory, a master inventory, but I got you've probably seen my barcode scanner videos, but I've got barcodes, and I'm going to create a master document that has the contents of each box, and then it will have a barcode attached to it to help me find that. So, yep, I'm on board with the way you're thinking and numbering the boxes with the barcodes, and it's going to make things a whole lot easier going forward when I do move and have to locate things. So, but everybody have a great afternoon. The weather is definitely warmer today, and if you can get outside, I'm hoping to do that a little bit myself and soak up a little vitamin D. But I will see hopefully some of you on Thursday evening when we do the next live stream. And stay safe and happy computing to all of you. Have a great day.